We have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government. Do you still think that jet fuel brought down the World Trade Center? Does anybody else see a problem here? If the government has nothing to hide, why are they so afraid to answer a few questions? This story does not add up.
Things are mounting right now in a big, big, big way because the public is investigating, the military is leaking vital information to the Republic. There is a battle for the future of this country and the world right now. If you go to Infowars.com, you can see the red link story. Video, Marines practice subduing citizens inside internment camp. It's linked on drudgereport.com on the right-hand side. Under the headline, Texas landowners paid to give up property for troop training. But the Pentagon lied and said that it was volunteered beforehand. How asinine. Defiant rancher refuses to surrender home to the military. It continues, Marines practice subduing citizens inside internment camp. Here's another headline, rogue military drone lands in man's backyard. Yes, my friends, we are not in Kansas anymore, as they say. And the other news just gets even more insane. It's hard to believe now that it's like a year ago that Jakari Jackson, Adon Salazar, and others went down to talk to our Border Patrol ICE connections, and boom. There it was, the video, the Border Patrol loading the illegals on the buses, giving them vouchers and busing them into the U.S. It took the New York Times 5 weeks to put in a story that indeed that was true. We got no credit for it. I mean, that's just a sensational story. Then the Border Patrol came out on Fox News and said, yes, we complete the smuggling process, close quote, the deputy head of the union. Quote, we complete the smuggling process. In fact, just search Border Patrol agent, we complete the smuggling process. We ought to cue that video up. Now, there is video, and WorldNet Daily has a story, DHS caught busing in Somalis from Mexican border. Directly from the main hotbed of ISIS recruiting in North Africa. You cannot make that up. You cannot. The U.S. is bringing in 100,000 Muslims every year through legal channels, such as the United Nations Refugee Program, but now there's a whole other secret program. And how do they bring all the illegals into England? Remember that secret program Tony Blair was involved in? I remember covering the secret program when it was coming out in the late 90s. People said, oh, there's not a secret program. He apologized for it 2 weeks ago. Because he's hated for it. So let me explain something. They're bringing in people from known terrorist hotbeds. But the Marines are training to take on the American people. And if I was allowed to get on controlled corporate brainwashing media, ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, Fox, if I was on the 5, I would just quote Eisenhower. We must guard in the councils of government against the unwarranted influence of the military-industrial complex, whether sought or unsought. He goes into the danger exist and will persist of a technological takeover by the elite. You have to read the whole quote. In fact, we've done this before, but I really want to just get it where we go into the whole speech. It's on PBS Online. It's on YouTube. And it's a 21-minute speech, but I want to get the whole part about the technological elite taking over and then how they control the military-industrial complex, because no one seems to know the first part. That's the most important part. Infowars.com, alarming video footage from U.S. Marines training drill, which took place in Arizona last month, shows armed troops chasing down unruly citizens inside a mock internment camp while role players chant for food and water. Now, before we get to that, let's play from a month ago, right around the same time in California next door, the Army National Guard training to take on sovereign citizens. And when the sovereign citizen says, I have rights, I'm a sovereign citizen, that's when they attack with their batons. So let's play that clip, then we'll play the new clip. But if you're a radio listener, you got to see this footage, Infowars.com/show. We're streaming it live. But let's go to the previous clip. Here it is.
I'm a sovereign citizen. I refuse to recognize you guys. I refuse to recognize you.
That was interesting.
Okay. Now let's go to, and we've got other troops saying it, and we've got police saying, what's the armored vehicle for? It's for the patriots, it's for the veterans, it's for the constitutionalists. Should I play all those again and show you 25 articles? I got a whole stack of mainstream news right here. I had them reprint them for when the media guy came in. The Boston Globe report, I said, here's dozens of mainstream articles admitting they're training to fight the American people and gun owners. Here. This is for the Boston Globe. But see, their editors don't want me to show you the man behind the curtain. They don't want me to go, here's the proof, jackass. Here it is right here. They want to just go, liar, hates the military, racist, Boston bomber. I mean, you know, it just doesn't work anymore. There's a massive gear up for martial law, and they won't call it martial law. They'll call it civil. Oh, yeah. Let's hear this guy in Indiana, the sheriff's department. Let's hear him one more time talk about who this is for. Then we'll get to the new video and audio that the Marines basically shot themselves and have released. I mean, this is not even hidden. They're training for it, but then saying they're not. Let's go to the clip from Indiana.
Didn't have the violence that we see today. The weaponry is totally different now than it was in the beginning of my career.
Not true.
Plus, you have a lot of people that are coming out of the military that have the ability and the knowledge to build IEDs and to defeat law enforcement techniques.
Okay, can we cue up the Spokane SWAT team commander, Washington, saying it's for the constitutionalists who have guns? Can we just keep doing this for everybody? While Fox News sits there and says, none of this is happening. No, none of it. Alex Jones.
Somebody is directing fire toward a team that's trying to get in. They safely can pull right up to a front. Take enemy fire and still try to address a threat without being fear of getting shot.
So I'm thinking that is totally appropriate in Iraq, but what kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. They have.
But again, none of this is going on. We're going under global treaties. Our borders are wide open. We're living in a globalist dictatorship. We're smart enough to try to politically take the country back. We're gearing up to defend ourselves as the military trains to attack us. We need to get the police to understand to protect themselves. They need to say no to this narrative and not have the Civil War. I want to just say something here. It was March 20th, 5-6 weeks ago, that Joe Biggs came into the studio about 30 minutes before I got him on air and said, we've confirmed these Jade Helm documents. I've talked to my Army buddies the last few days. He'd been working on the story, hadn't told me about it yet. This doesn't look like any training drill we've seen before. It's definitely for domestic operations. And I said, well, I believe you. I'm an expert on these domestic operations. You're an expert on the Army, being a retired staff sergeant. with terrorists in Iraq and Afghanistan. You have these sources. But let's not say that we're sure it looks like it's domestic. Let's just say it should be investigated. He comes in. We talk for 10 minutes. DrudgeReport.com links to it in like an hour. The Army comes out and says, this drill isn't even real. It's probably fake documents.
Yeah, where do these documents even come from?
Yeah, so at first, you know, we're making stuff up.
Yeah, exactly.
First, it just doesn't exist. Then they come out 2 days later, we hate the military.
Yeah.
And they have all these new lies.
And then I'm a supposed veteran.
That's right, even though you've been in the Army Times bunch of articles.
Yeah.
So all of this PSYOP goes on. We're going, whoa, we hit on something big here. Why are they freaking out? We cover military drills all the time. Every week there's some new footage of the Army, the Marines, the National Guard, training to take on veterans, gun owners. There's new footage today. I shot footage in '99 when Clinton had this going on, but it was much lower level, much rarer.
Yeah.
Now it's ramped up 10, 20, 30 times. I mean, it's just exponential. And we're going to play that old footage and the new footage coming up here in a moment that we haven't gotten to yet. Again, for radio listeners, you can see the video at Infowars.com. We have it posted, red-linked, video, Marines practice subduing citizens inside internment camp. Again, Infowars.com for war on, for your mind. Now, expanding on that situation, Joe has been working since yesterday and came in. He said, hey, I know you want me on about my interchanges with Eric Bolling, who came out a few months ago and said we need militarized police. In a Fox clip we played, not satire, Fox calls for over-militarized police. That was in January. Mm-hmm. He's saying he wants to meet me in a parking lot. He's saying we're full of it. I was just going to, and he goes, I don't really want to get into that. What you need to know is I'm working on a story. I've gotten the guy's military ID. I've gotten photos. I'm getting authorization to post all this, not his ID, but the other intel. We're double-checking to make sure none of it's classified because, I mean, even if it's unconstitutional what they're doing, classified stuff, they'll try to throw you in jail. And sometimes we go ahead and put that out, even though they could come after us, because we morally know that it'll make them look so bad to come after us that we may just want to force that issue.
Yeah, exactly.
But Joe has major breaking news on Jade Helm. Now, we've dug up that mastering the human domain goes to these major training operations that are joint forces to dominate America, but the rest of the world, to run human operations, to learn how to take over local government and to, quote, stabilize it. We have all these new documents coming out we covered yesterday that I'm going to go over where they admit that this is about domestic operations, and the commander of it has been the one for Northcom, not just Southcom and CENTCOM, preparing for stabilization of the country. They don't call it martial law. So there's this massive exponential ramping up. Then we get them saying in earlier speeches, this Meade character that's running it all, the civilian, that the colonels and people take orders from publicly, that, you know, they turn to ask how high they should jump. He says, yeah, we're going to be doing suspicious things on the street out of uniform. Then they come to Bastrop a month later and say, no, we're not.
Exactly.
And we never said that. You're a conspiracy theorist.
And it's right there in the slides that they denied and then had to come back and say, well, yes, these are, in fact, the slides.
So we have this exactly, and I'm going to give you the floor in a moment. We have this whole background going on. And the media, 200 to 500 articles a day saying we're liars. I mean, I've never seen anything like this on any subject. I mean, this is a major global firestorm. It's all over the news worldwide. It's causing a debate about militarization of police. Why are troops on the street in England, in Europe, in Australia? This is a global gear up for something. World War III, financial collapse, nuclear terror, I don't know. But let me tell you, folks, it's like when Germany was lining up troops in 1939 on the Polish border, and the Poles kept saying they're getting ready to invade. Everybody's like, oh, no, they're not. Don't be conspiracy theorists. This is a major buildup. And in war, you look for truth movements. You look for what they're training to fight, because then you know what their mission's going to be. It's us, the American people. They train for how they're going to fight. Now, Joe comes in here with stuff even bigger than Marines practice subduing citizens inside internment camp. We're going to get to that in a moment. Joe has just bombshell info, former Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army. He vetted this guy that's currently in, that's so freaked out, he's just considering walking off. And believe me, that's going to happen big time if they try this.